Hey everyone, Tom here, and today we have something very special, a hands-on with Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Lots of excitement for this one. The first thing to say is this build's running from a debugged PS4 Pro. It's only the first 2 hours of the game, so nothing to involve spoiler-wise if you're worried about that. It's also preview code, though with only 2 weeks from the March 22nd release, it's already looking pretty polished. Almost certainly it'll be tweaked and improved by then, especially if there's a day one patch lined up. On that note, there's also no guarantee we'll be getting the game ahead of launch to prepare a comparison between consoles, so this is it. That might change, but for now we do at least have an early hands-on with PS4 Pro today. So first up, one of the best things about Sekiro is it's all at once familiar and yet entirely unique. In fact, only 4 years ago, Bloodborne achieved a very similar feat, taking the skeleton of the Dark Souls series if you like, and layering across a bleak gothic setting with a new combat system. Sekiro takes just as ambitious a leap of its own, and from what I've seen, it deserves to be celebrated on its own terms. For a start, developer From Software taps into a rich vein of mythology much closer to home this time. A gorgeous Japanese-inspired world is sculpted from scratch of shinobi, burning temples and feuding clans with a huge level of care and attention. Now it goes without saying, in terms of the sheer quality of art direction, the results are unlike anything we've seen from the studio so far. Cutscenes are used to tell parts of its story, but as ever, the world design steals the show. From the snowy pathways lined with samurai to a mountainside temple set ablaze, every spot is distinct. Now certainly from a technical standpoint, it's obvious the engine has an overlap with Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. Parts of its setup, even the habits of PS4 Pro performance, are recurring in Sekiro. The mechanics also have a common ground. The Estus Flask, the Maiden in Black, and plenty of other touchstones of the Souls series find an equivalent here. Even so, developer From Software's push into new territory still makes it compelling. There's a commitment to its world building which, even with a similar technical backbone, takes Sekiro on a path all of its own. From the opening 2 hours I played on PS4 Pro, I had a great time. I'm also not as good as I'd like to be. Frustratingly, I'm behind the curve of its mechanics. Muscle memory and old habits really do die hard when handed a new From Software title. The biggest difference I've found in Sekiro is a single landing blow from a katana is a significant moment, a crunching pinpoint strike that rewards a bout of cautious sidesteps and parries. You really have to work to find that opening. The environments are sparser than its other works too. Every area's verticality comes into play thanks to a jump button and a grappling hook, while stealth is encouraged by crouching through tall grass if you'd prefer taking that route. What does this mean technically? Well, it puts From Software's engine to task with rendering a wider, more navigable environment. They stretch out in all directions, up and down. From the tree branches flanking a mountainside to the rows of slatted rooftops, it's a playground waiting to be explored. The grappling hook ups the pace of movement too. It forces the game to stream in world detail far ahead of time, much faster than any Souls game. Latch onto several points in a sequence and you zip across a string of trees quickly and with barely any sight of pop-in. The options are there, the hardware's up to task, and it combines to give an incredible sense of freedom. Indeed, in all my time playing this preview build of Sekiro, PS4 Pro ran without any stutters or visual glitches. We're in familiar territory engine-wise, which does help. The technical design, from the way the environment streams in, to the physics interplay on clothing, tumbling stacks of books, or smashable urns, have a clear likeness to earlier works. Specifically, the ragdoll physics on enemies cut off just after landing a fatal blow, much like Bloodborne. Even the snappy controller input to your character with a similar stepping animation puts you in a similar headspace. Many of the engine's strengths carry straight over to Sekiro in this respect. Again, it's only a comforting baseline to work from, and the actual innovation springs from there. It's clear to see Sekiro strikes out with its own visual identity. The gothic vision of Bloodborne is axed for one, and so this time chromatic aberration is disabled. As a post-process effect, the distortion added to the screen's edges was heavy-handed in that case, deliberately so, but it still divided opinion. This time, well, Sekiro's image is clean and clear. What you get from its post-pipeline is instead a pure focus on decent anti-aliasing and quality motion blur. High-grade sampling is used to blend frames, and not just for camera movement, but also individual objects. The result is artifact-free on PS4 Pro at least. We'll see how it scales to the other consoles in due course, but I see very little in the way of dithering or banding on edges. It looks great and helps to disguise the variability of its frame rate. More to come on that later. Beyond this, there's a lot Sekiro nails in its effects. One highlight for me is the explosion of alpha effects spewing from enemies on landing a final strike, a burst that's punctuated in close-up. The fire of the later Hirata estate area also uses sharp high-resolution transparency effects at a great scale. While it is duplicated many times over, the alpha blends convincingly with the scene thanks to bloom, light bounce across characters, and reflections across water. Easily, this is one of the standout events of the game's early hours. But for quieter moments, I noticed a crepuscular ray effect that flickers subtly through trees at night too. All these are known features of From Software's engine. They're tools in the box, but used in a fresh way to realise Sekiro's world. What about image quality? Well, here's the curious thing. You think of PS4 Pro and you assume 4K output is on the cards. Now at the event, only 1080p capture was available, and so you're looking at a native 1920 by 1080 image here. That's right, it's 1080p right now, and I didn't have a chance to check out the super sampling toggle either. For the final release, who knows if a true 4K output mode is in the works. It'd really be a perfect way to take advantage of Pro hardware. In fact, it'd be a first for a Souls-like game to do it, even if it's a straight bump to 1440p. Looking back, there is a precedent for this. The Pro Enhanced patch for Dark Souls 3, for example, kept the resolution at 1080p much like the base machine, and unlocked the frame rate to 60fps. It was an easy option, and something even Xbox One X didn't get in the end, stuck as it is today at 900p like the base model. For Sekiro, there's a chance to turn all of this around. It's the first game from director Hidetaka Miyazaki and his team to launch with Pro and X hardware in the wild. I'm really hopeful something will come of that, but so far at least, we do have 1080p locked down. So how's the performance stacking up? Well, the setup will be familiar to Dark Souls 3 players using a PS4 Pro. It's a direct copy for that setup in fact, an unlocked frame rate that wavers from 30fps to 60. Simply put then, Sekiro's free to go right up to 60fps if you look to the sky, and around 50fps when wandering around interiors. In reality though, well, it's on average sticking to around 45fps, the frame rate no man's land, and even drops to the 30s when the screen fills with smoke or blood effects. Having a true 60fps title from the team would have been amazing, but here the performance is very much like Dark Souls 3. In theory, a 30fps cap would work wonders, at least as an option. Then again, as we've come to expect in From Software games, there's a danger of uneven frame pacing creeping in this way. That's how Bloodborne works on PS4 Pro, even today, and base consoles with Dark Souls 3. Sekiro at least offers a lesser of two evils by leaving it unlocked in this respect. You'll get an uneven refresh either way, but at least in this case, you get the most visual feedback within a second that the machine can manage. What we really want, of course, is a 60fps experience, something we haven't seen since Scholar of the First Sin on current gen. There may be scope to improve Pro performance, but right now, 30 to 60 is the range. There is hope. The PC version is a hugely viable option. If From Software's efforts on Dark Souls 3 are anything to go by, Sekiro at 60fps will be an easy one to recommend there. With each game, the team improves its suite of graphics options on PC, and outside of Bloodborne, it's quickly becoming the go-to platform for the developer's output. What we're seeing on PS4 Pro today is unlikely to see too much change in asset work on PC. At least in terms of resolution and frame rate though, you can expect to reap the rewards of a decent mid-range GPU. Performance-wise, there's another option in Xbox One X. Even today, Dark Souls 3 still isn't enhanced for X. It runs at 900p and 30fps. But supposing attention is paid to the console's strengths for Sekiro, we're looking at 6 teraflops of GPU power that could finally bridge the gap to 60fps. We've not seen it happen from this latest iteration of the engine, and it may not be a lock, but in theory, committing to 1080p like Pro is here would give us the best turnout on console. That is, unless Sekiro is being designed with a unique 4K option in mind. All eyes to March 22nd then. From Software is a master of building a world, lore and characters from the ground up, and based on this preview, the team's managed it all over again in Sekiro. There's a bigger emphasis on more linear, conventional storytelling this time. As a counterweight to that, the environments are more sprawling than ever before, making it more of a pure-blooded stealth action game, with new demands on its tech. Really, it's great to see the engine push to new ideas, and I can't wait to see past the opening few hours. If Bloodborne showed From Software's ambition at this generation's start, Sekiro stands to be an amazing counterpart to bookend it. But that's all I have time for today. We'll have more to come on Sekiro as we near release. There's still so many questions dangling over the Xbox One X and PC versions, and which stakes a claim to being the best way to play overall. Hopefully this PS4 Pro hands-on gives some sense of what to expect though. Do like or subscribe if you found it useful, and hit the bell to get notifications as any new video lands. We have this uploaded to our Patreon at digitalfoundry.net, and for more updates on Sekiro and other games, you can contact us directly on Twitter. But for now, thanks for watching.